Hello everyone! So, since the weather is now starting to turn a little bit here in Colorado, was, now we're getting more snow and cold today and tomorrow, but really it's starting to turn, get into spring here shortly. Lakes are going to be thawed, ponds are already getting pretty thawed. There's a couple open, I think, but still pretty much frozen, real cold water, but we're starting to get there. So since we're doing that, I figured I would give 5 baits. Actually, yeah, 5 baits um, that are perfect for late winter, very early spring, cold water situations. And it's pretty easy to pick 5 because there's really only 5 that will work really good this time of year. So we'll just get started on that. The first one, and this is the one that I always start with, we're going to start moving baits a little bit because you can still throw moving baits. Certain kinds, certain actions, I'll tell you why in a second, and how is going to obviously be different than once the water gets warmer and fish are more active and everything. But the first one that I always start with this time of year, especially on ponds a lot, but really anywhere, just because it's a good search bait for this time of year, and can allow you to kind of maybe locate fish pretty easy instead of constantly doing slow tactics that are going to take a lot of time to cover water and try to find fish. And that's going to be a lipless crankbait. This one hasn't even been opened yet. Look at that. This is the Lucky Craft LV500. This is like a bluegill color. Okay, so people swear by red in like early spring. I personally don't have any luck on red. I guess I get it. Once the water gets over 50, then that's when craws start coming out and they're red. They have red tint to them. I mean, I guess I get it. If you like red, whatever, I don't really throw it. So I don't say swear by red like so many people do in early spring. I think that's kind of more of a South thing anyway. But you can. I know guys that catch them on here too. It's just I don't have confidence in it. So this is a bluegill color. I typically just stick with your bait fish colors. Bluegill works really well here because all of our ponds and lakes have bluegill in them. It's usually the main food source in most places. There's also shad and perch and other things in other places as well, but a lot of places are bluegill, especially a lot of places that I fish. So stick with that. Now, fishing wise, the reason why this is so great for covering water, trying to find those fish, is you can bomb that thing a mile. I mean, lipless crankbait is like the easiest thing to cast. It'll completely spool out your reel, and you can just bomb it out there. And what I do typically is let it fall to the bottom, and then I slow roll it, no matter what depth it is, and just slow roll it. And when you kind of start hitting that freshly developing grass that starts coming this time of year, or maybe some other cover or whatever, just act like I'm setting the hook to rip that bait out. And also, you'll be surprised at sometimes you think you're getting snagged in that. You do like a set the hook motion, and you end up, there is a fish there. This time of year, the bites are going to be super subtle. I think a lot of guys miss a lot of fish because they don't think they have bites. So that's why I always say hook sets are free. If you're not sure what it is you're on, and it might be a bite, set the hook. Who cares? look like an idiot. People can judge you, but they won't be judging you when there's a fish there and you catch it and they're still sitting there not noticing they're getting bites. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big thing. Just slow rolling it so you can still feel it sitting down there ticking, but it's not real crazy. And just slow roll it through that cover right through the bottom, and then just pop it out of the weeds, the rocks, whatever. And that thing will get bit a lot of times this time of year. Why the lipless crankbait is so good this time of year? Number one, because you can just slow roll it and stay on the bottom, unlike a lipped crankbait where you need to constantly retrieve that bait to keep it at the right depth, going faster and keep it in that right depth. This one, you can stop it. It's still there on the bottom. Fish are feeding down in cold water. Once the water warms up, they'll feed up more, and we'll kind of get to that on a bait here later, but right now they're feeding down, okay? So you want to stay on the bottom, close to the bottom, and that's where you're going to get bites. So that's why the lipless crankbait is great. The other thing is the action on it is very subtle, alright? It just wiggles like this, It's not a big wobble that a lipped crankbait has. So that thing is perfect for cold water as a surge bait. That's pretty much it on that one. Oh, I usually just stick with 1/2 ounce. That's what I'll usually always throw. Maybe 3/4 if I'm going to be fishing it deeper. But usually 1/2 ounce just seems to get the job done. No matter depth or anything, it seems to be perfect. So, the next one, I actually don't have one. So I have to go make an order to get one, but it's another moving bait, and it is actually a squarebill crankbait, but in BALSA, a BALSA squarebill crankbait. Okay, BALSA is very key and important. Instead of plastics, what most crankbaits are made out of now, they used to be made out of BALSA before plastic, the hard plastic, started becoming a thing. And now balsa wood crankbaits are more expensive. Because they're like a specialty item. Only some people hand carve balsa crankbaits anymore. So they're more expensive. The Bagleys, I think, are cheaper. They're actually pretty cheap. But personally, I don't really like Bagleys, so I won't recommend those. What I actually like a lot in balsa crankbaits is PH Custom Lures. And their stuff's expensive, though. And it's like $12, $15 for a balsa wood squarebill, so I get it if you don't want to spend the money. But the thing with the balsa is it doesn't wobble near as much as the hard plastic regular squarebill crankbaits are now. And they have a lot tighter of a wobble to them, which is perfect, again, for this time of year. Because, okay, I can kind of really mention why the tight wobble is good. It's cold water. Bait fish aren't really swimming all over the place. They're just barely moving around. So a tight wobble looks more realistic in the colder water than if that bait's like freaking flopping all over the place. So that's why those balsa woods are a lot better than using the hard plastic crankbaits. They have a lot tighter of an action. I'm stumbling all over my words, sorry. But a lot tighter of an action on them. Now, obviously, they don't go very deep, about 5 feet, typically, 3 to 5 feet. You can get them where they go a little deeper, whatever. But so you're not going to be fishing out in those deep wintering holes where the bass are hidden out at. What I like that squarebill for in winter is when the sun is shining in late winter and that water's warming up on rock dams is a big way to catch bass, good ones, in that winter time, late winter, early spring, when it starts to get warmer. You're on a rock dam, those rocks are going to hold that heat from that sun. So you get a bright sunny day where the sun is at your face, standing on the rock bank, whatever, and that sun is at your face. that is going to be awesome. You throw that square bill through those rocks. A square bill comes through the rocks, bounces off the rocks and everything. A lipless crankbait does not do that. A lipless crankbait, you're going to go under those rocks a lot more than anything. So that's what I like those balsa wood square bills for, because that can be dynamite with that sunshine, warmer days, that sun hitting those rocks and holding that warmth. Bait fish go up there, bass follow right behind them, start eating, start getting going. It can be phenomenal. It can be like your best time in the late winter. So, balsa wood square bills, I'll put a picture up. I probably already have, but there's another picture. Also, links to all the baits will be down in the description. So, there's that one. Now we're going to start moving into the slow stuff, the boring stuff, which personally I don't find to be super boring, but I get it. It is kind of boring, but it can really work this time of year. And there's two baits that I'm just going to drag on the bottom, pretty much, and just slowly drag them on the bottom, not doing anything too crazy, just keep them on the bottom, just slowly dragging them, let them sit, slowly dragging it, let it sit. The first one is a bait that I actually don't really like a whole lot, and this is a Ned rig. I'm not a fan of a Ned rig. We're talking about boring baits, and this thing is the most boring, because it falls super slow. You'll get bites on the fall, though, because it is just falling super slow, which can be nice. But a lot of times you're just letting it sit. It's like a dead stick bait. You're barely dragging that thing. But it really works. Dudes swear by it. Dudes catch them all the time. It's just something I don't like to do personally. But if I absolutely have to, I will. And it's really all you're going to do. Cast it out there, usually deeper water, and then just drag that sucker and let it sit. Drag it and let it sit. Very boring. But if you're around fish, it cannot be boring because you'll be getting lots of bites. So, and the reason why this is also really good this time of year and all that is because you're using a light line. This is 8-pound fluoro on here. That's why it's on a spinning rod. Light line, spinning rod. It's a finesse tactic. That light line, they're not going to be so inclined to see that line. They might be more inclined to bite that bait, especially when bites can be at a premium this time of year because the water's still cold and they ain't really biting. That light line can help you get more bites. Alright? So that's a big reason why that is, it just can crush it this time of year. There's not much action on it. Light line. And also, that's just a Z-Man, Ned rig head, shroom head, they call them, whatever, with just a Senko on the end of it, pinched off to about 3 inches, put on there. That's all you need. Next one is probably my favorite, just because it can get you huge bites, and you can fish it anywhere. You can fish it along rocks, you can fish it anywhere, but it's more of a slow tactic as well. And that is, oh my god, a football jig. A football jig. I like jigs. I like fishing jigs a lot. So, and football jig is just, it's one of those things. It is slow as well. This time of year, you're going to be doing the same thing as with that Ned rig pretty much. But that bite is going to be bigger typically on the jig. Jigs just get big bites. And that's why I like them. So it's pretty much the same thing. You're going to cast it out and you're just going to drag it. Alright. I like to stick with a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce football jig. 1/2 ounce, like I said, with the lipless is kind of perfect for all around. 3/4 are really good for deeper water. because they'll fall down and get to the bottom quicker, because you want that thing on the bottom. Like I said, fish are feeding down. That thing just dragging along the bottom, it works. And as for trailers on a football jig this time of year, this trailer is mine on redbeardbassandbaits.com. Go check them out and buy you some. This is the Chunky Craw, and this is perfect for this time of year. Really, it's perfect year-round. I use it year-round. But there's certain times when the water's warmer, you want something with a little bit more action. But this time of year, you don't want action on those pinchers. You don't want it flapping around like crazy. Like I said before, least action is better in the colder water. So that chunk craw is great. I've talked about it when I posted the video about all my baits and why they're awesome and all that long video. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. But the reason I make that thing and what it's supposed to do is the claws stand upright when that bait's just sitting there, which a lot of crawfish baits don't do. Some of them do, but most of them do not. It's all a farce. But that is a big thing with that. I wanted it standing there like a crawfish really does in a defensive posture. It looks more realistic. The other thing is the action isn't all crazy on it. Like I said, in warmer water situations on falls and stuff, when you're flipping and pitching in summer, those crazy action hunts actually can help. In this cold water, it doesn't. You don't want that action. You want that nice, slow, or no action at all. Just standing there. Just like this. And it just barely moves. That thing's perfect. So I use that this time of year on the back of a jig. Like I said, I use it year-round. It works year-round on the back of a jig. It's just perfect. But especially this time of year, you want something like that where it doesn't move crazy. You know, a chunk craw, not something with big, you know, like a rage swimmer, you know, or a rage bug, rage craw, whatever, sorry. A rage craw, like you don't want that where it's crazy. So you want that nice, subtle action. And the other thing is fluorocarbon line, just because it's less visible. I know a lot of times people think of jigs and they think they gotta put them on braid and stuff. I usually use fluorocarbon year-round on a jig, unless if it's real heavy grass in summer, then I'll use braid because it rips through the grass better. But this time of year, that fluorocarbon's invisible underwater. Go with lightest you can, 14, 16 pound test. There's 16 on that rod right now. And that's kind of what I use year round, 16 to 20 once the water gets warmer and everything. But this time of year, 16, and just drag that football jig slowly. Maybe every once in a while I'll give it a couple little pops, but mostly you're just going to be dragging it. Let it sit, drag it, let it sit. That's very boring, I guess, if you think it is. So, alright. And then the last one is going to be not necessarily right now, or coming up when the water first starts thawing. It's going to be a few weeks from now. Once that water starts getting warmer, up over 50, I usually think of it as, well, 45 to 50 is really where I'm thinking about this bait a little bit more, because then the fish are going to be feeding up more, start getting ready for pre-spawn and all that stuff. And this thing, you want it on a warming trend too, where the days are getting warmer. You don't want to take it out there on like a colder day. I mean, you can, but it seems like when it's like a warmer day and the water's warming up and those fish are getting a little bit more moving and stuff, it seems to really work really well. And that is a jerkbait. Alright, this is the Lucky Craft pointer, and you know, really, jerkbait, all of them are kind of the same. If I'm going to be honest, the guys will tell you different. I don't know. I'm not a big jerkbait fisherman guy. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I just found a couple that I like, and the pointers work, and they come in all different depth ranges. different ones. That's the SP. There's the Ds, and different ones that are shallower, deeper, whatever. So you can judge them by where you're fishing. Have deeper ones for deeper pockets. And the thing with these jerkbaits, it's you have to go super slow in colder water. I guess you don't have to, but it is usually the common thing to do. And you're going to cast it out there, twitch, twitch, pause, and just pause. Sometimes 10, 15, 20 seconds. Just let it sit there, and it's just sitting there. Twitch, pause. Alright? Twitch, twitch, pause. Whatever. I mean, twitch, twitch, twitch. You're going to have to screw around with how many twitches, get the right action on that thing, how long you're going to have to sit there. Usually you twitch it and you sit there. If you're a round fish and you get a bite, then you know how long you have to sit there and let it pause. But they're going to bite it when it's just sitting there. They're not going to be biting it when you're twitching it. I mean, maybe very rarely. I mean, it happens sometimes, but it's pretty rare. You're going to be just sitting there and twitch it, and you're just going to sit there and let it pause, and a lot of times you won't even notice a bite. Sometimes your line will just pop a little bit, or it'll kind of just pull a little tight, but sometimes you don't even notice that. Actually, a lot of times you don't really notice that. What happens is you go to twitch it again, and you feel that fish, that pressure on that line, so then just set the hook. But the big thing is if they do hit it, and you can tell, a way to kind of tell more so you can visually see it with your line is leaving that line slack. And also you're going to want to jerk that bait with a little bit of that bow in your line. You don't want the line completely taut. And that's just going to get a better action on that bait as well. But a lot of times with that line a little loose like that, you can actually see it kind of twitch sometimes, and that'll help detect bites a little bit. Another thing I like to do, a lot of times that'll help you with that bite, is go braid to a fluorocarbon leader. I go with a long fluorocarbon leader, about 5-6 feet of leader on it, but with braid mainline to that fluoro leader. And that's also going to help you see bites a little bit more. Some guys say don't ever use braid. It doesn't get down to the right depth, obviously, because braid floats, but really it's not going to change the depth that much. Maybe just subtract 2 feet. I mean, it's not going to be that much of a difference. And they say you can pull that bait too hard because braid doesn't have any stretch to it, and fluorocarbon at least has a little bit of stretch. But to me, I haven't really seen a problem with it. It's just what I like to use. It seems to work a lot better. So that's it. And the other thing, on like a jerkbait rod, you don't want a big stiff rod. This is actually, it's a medium heavy, but it's an extra fast action, which means the tip is really sensitive. It has a really sensitive tip to it. That just seems to get the best action for me. There's many other rods. I can't really make too many suggestions, but this is, what was it? The E6X from G Loomis in 7'1" medium heavy extra fast, and that's the one that ended up being my jerkbait rod. It just seemed to work the best. So, that's really what. Just don't use a big, stiff, heavy rod. You ain't gonna use your flipping stick on it or anything, or even some medium heavies, feel pretty stout. Probably don't want to use that one. But that is pretty much going to be it. That is the 5 baits you absolutely must be throwing in late winter, early spring. So, that is all. And more will be coming. A lot more. We'll talk about that once the weather gets a lot better. But this is going to be a big year. Also, do not forget to go check out redbeardbassandbaits.com. Please buy some stuff. Get yourself stocked up. Stuff's awesome. and I will get those orders out to you. They come straight from me to you. All right, and I will see you guys on the next one.